Welcome to Faith and Calm, class 216. This is a special edition class coming from Portland, Oregon. So we're visiting David Glazer, our part-time, I call him our Ben Bias. We knew him since he was 8 years old. Anyway, he's a rabbi here and now, and with 4 children. And so we're playing grandparents, and we were doing the grandparent thing all today. So, but today is a special day. As you know, today is
Tu B'Av.
Tu B'Av, no Tachanun. It's more than just no Tachanun. Historically, we know that it was 6 days after Tisha B'Av. It comes 6 days after Tisha B'Av. And it happened also that the Jews were dying in the desert for 38 years after the sin of the Meraglim on Tisha B'Av, the original Tisha B'Av. And every Tisha B'Av, they knew that a lot of them would die, so they would dig their graves and they would lie down in it. Probably not the women, because they knew that they weren't guilty.
Women all went in life.
Right, so they didn't have to worry about this, but the men had to, and didn't want to have to bother anybody having to bury them. So they dug their graves, they lay in them, and the 38th year they weren't, sure if that was included or not. So they all went, and they. But looking at the moon on the 9th, you can't really tell if it's full yet. So they waited the 9th, the 10th, the 11th. Maybe they made a mistake.
Each night they went back in their grave.
And they went back, and then the 15th, it was very clear that it was no longer the decree was over, and they saw full moon. I'm glad I have my.
And they knew this can't be the 9th.
Okay, so it's over. So there was the end of the dying of the wilderness, which was already a great thing. So it says in the Gemara in Tanis, it ends the Gemara Tanis, that there were no days as happy on the Jewish calendar as Chamisha Asar B'Av, the 15th of Av, and Yom Kippur. These were the happiest days on the calendar. Today, even in history, they were. Some people try and explain it by saying that the young girls in Jerusalem who were unmarried used to wear borrowed dresses, and they went out to the fields, and they would say to the young bacharim, raise your eyes upwards and so forth, and don't look at beauty and don't look at wealth, but rather choose a girl for the
Yerushalayim.
Her purity for her. And there was a lot of marriages on those 2 days. Now, how that happened don't ask me how that happened on Yom Kippur. I don't understand. And then my wife raised another good question, which probably needs some research also, is dancing in front of the men is usually highly frowned on in a Haredi community. So if anybody understands how that worked, I don't know. So go explain that. They were Haredi? I don't know. It's of course they were Haredi. So I don't know how to explain that. But that doesn't seem to really capture what the Gemara is trying to bring out. And the question on the Gemara is even more. It mentions the 15th of Av even before it mentions Yom Kippur. And it connects the two holidays together, which you wouldn't think is really a big connection. When you think of Yom Kippur, you don't think of the most joyous day on the Jewish calendar. It just doesn't resonate with us that way. And this day also did that. And then so you're comparing the two, and you're even putting this day even higher than Yom Kippur. So what is the 2 days share? That's where they start to do the research and figure out. The 2 days share because they both are actually a day of forgiveness and of cleansing of the Jewish people. Let's look at Yom Kippur first. The reason we had a Yom Kippur is because the Jews built an egel in the wilderness, and Moshe broke the
golden calf.
Shana knows what that is.
I know, but other people might scream. You have to translate.
Okay, the golden calf. And Moshe had to go up and get forgiveness for them, and he got after because that was on the 17th of Tammuz. It took him 40 days, and God said, "Okay, go down and mix new tablets. I'll write them on them." And he went back up again, and he finally came down with the second set of the 10 Commandments on Yom Kippur, And God said basically, I forgive you. So it's a day of cleansing. And there's nothing really better than to get your slate clean. So that was really a good day. So that's one of the things about Yom Kippur. So the end of the dying also seems like a day of forgiveness, but it has to be understood more than that. Because why? So the Rebbeim explain, Rebbe Marash explains that the moon is full, and when the moon is full, that's a good sign for the Jews. Because when the moon is concealed, that's a bad sign for the Jews when it's dark and so forth. And the Jews, our luck swings back and forth from times of darkness to times of light and revelation and so forth. So we have most of the Jewish holidays fall out on the 15th. What?
Because we're compared to the moon, so when the moon is full.
Would you like to give the class? No. You see that you have material for this, okay? So the 15th of the month is always a good time. So when Pesach falls and Sukkot falls, the Jewish holidays happen when the moon is 100% full. It's a good time for the Jews. So those should be the holidays. I think that those holidays are a little bit more well known than the holiday of Tu B'Av. So let's look at this. The idea of the moon. What is the idea with the moon? The moon doesn't really disappear. The moon it's always there. The sun is always shining on it, but half of it is dark. When half of it is dark, then we don't see the moon. When the sun, but it always is reflecting the light of the sun. So the moon is functioning, it's illuminating for us on the 15th of the month. In other words, it's there in potential in the darkness. The light of the moon is there. It just isn't being perceived. It's just on the wrong side. And we need it to come and illuminate and come into our lives. What does this mean, as Rabbi White would say, psychologically and in our personal lives and so forth? What does this mean? There's times where we face darkness like Tisha B'Av in our lives, and things are black. And we think of it as black, and it's not getting brighter, and we're going through a lot of difficulties and a lot of problems and so forth. What God is basically saying on the lesson of the full moon is, don't think that I've given up on you, and don't think I've run away from you. I'm there. I'm just hidden. And it's going to come out 100% revealed on the whole moon is going to be re-illuminated, meaning your life is also going to be re-illuminated. So that is why we celebrate these holidays on the 15th of the month, Sukkot. We celebrate Pesach and so forth, time of redemption. We even celebrate Yom Kippur is also, is a time of illumination and so forth. So this happens on the 10th. We're not completely 100% sure until the 15th of the month about how everything was done, but we were certainly promised on the 10th of the month everything was good. So now we understand something about the 15th of the month and about the idea of the cycles of our lives and how things go down and they get dark and then how they actually will illuminate. But we still need to understand, why is Tu B'Av considered even higher than these other big days? And the answer there is interesting. The other holidays are all mentioned in Tanakh. They're mentioned in Chumash. We're told about Yom Kippur. We're told about Sukkot. We're told about Pesach. We're told that this is going to be our lives. Things will get dark and things will get bright, and you will celebrate on the 15th of the month. That was all part of the plan. Another way to say this is God consulted with the souls of the Jews, the tzaddikim, before he even created the world. He wrote it in his Torah before he created the world, and he already planned for those days, to already be a certain level of illumination. So for that reason, there was already latent in those darknesses there, already the seeds were already planted for the illumination. It was already part of the plan. It was something there. It was something that was supposed to happen. It was illumination that was supposed to come out. It wasn't supposed to get the dark. On Tisha B'Av, we say Eicha. And what does Eicha mean? Eicha, the first word, is from Yirmiyahu. Eicha yeshab badad ha'ir. How does it go? Ha'ir benos Yerushalayim. The ear of the Jewish people, the son. How can she sit desolate, the city of the Jewish people? How can Yerushalayim still be in plural. Echa means why. There are times in our lives where we say, why is this happening to us? Why can't I be like everybody else? Why can't I be normal? Why can't everything, why do I have to go through so much more difficulty than everybody else? Why? That is the message of Echa. Echa is, and God is saying also, how can you have messed up so badly? You just received the Luchos, you just received the 10 Commandments, you just received when Krishma, and you decided to make a golden calf. How can you do this? How can you make the world so dark and so forth? So that is an unusual level of descent into the world. And because when you go down, God is saying, yeah, but you know what? It means that you're bringing godliness down into when you're going to eventually, I know you're going to lift this up. So therefore, this is all for illumination, an illumination that was greater than before. So the darkness of Tisha B'Av was a darkness that really wasn't part of the plan. But since it did go this far down, just like when Adam and Chava decided, you know what? We're not going to go straight into the Geula in 2 hours. We're going to go through 5,784 4 years of darkness and deal with the world. And God said, actually, I think that's a great plan. You know, I mean, you're gonna have a world, and then you're gonna turn that over into being a holy place. So when Tisha B'Av happened, when we make mistakes in our lives, when we make big blunders and so forth, even the blunder is God saying, now you have an opportunity to bring godliness into a lower piece of the world. And therefore, the simcha of Tu B'Av is higher because it comes from a deeper place of darkness, and it happens almost automatically, and it even wasn't mentioned initially in the Torah, meaning that the light that is coming out now on Tu B'Av is a greater light than even was planned at the initial creation of the world. In other words, that there was a light that was that was already planned to be in this world, but then it was already part of the world. And therefore, if something happens in the world, then the world affects it. But this light, which is beyond the level of was never planned to come into this world, it's a higher level of light. It was a light that never was here before the Tzimtzum, if you understand Kabbalah, and it was never part of this world. It's coming from the essence of godliness, the essence of the Ora and so, and that light is going to be permanent because it never can be affected by any darkness. It never was capable of being affected by any darkness, and that is the joy that we have on the 15th of Av. It is a light and an illumination that goes beyond any other kind of illumination. I hope I wasn't too mystical. But it's a very spiritual kind of location here, and we got all the artsy fartsy kind of stuff going on here, and but anyway, so that's my thoughts for Portland, and now my wife is going to move her chair over here.
I'll just take this. I'll take this. I'll set it up here.
Okay.
Okay, good. So I'm just gonna. This is correct. I think that's correct. Okay, good. So, excellent. Ask question, where do you look? Where's the camera? Because when I look straight at the camera,
Try and find it.
I don't know where to look.
I don't know either.
Isn't that interesting? Not here. Must be over here somewhere on the left. Anyway, okay. So I'm just going to speak briefly as well. And I'm going to say that what I'd like to say is that this is a very nice thing that we just heard, but what do you do when you are, we know that on Tu B'Av, it's the happiest day of the year. And what if you're in the middle of some quandary, you're in the middle of some pickle, and it's just not, things are just not working for you. And so what do you do? How do you get yourself to that simcha? So essentially what you do, and I want to say that I was inspired by Rabbi Zalman Tachtel of the University of Kansas, and I'm going to tell briefly the story that he told. The story is not a very I don't know, daisies and buttercups story. It's a grim story, but it gives a good point. And the point is that when things are truly not working, and you need to get yourself out of that position, we have to do what the Jewish people have done for thousands of years. when we were when we were in Egypt and in the midst of the slavery, and they were cementing our children into the wall, and life was absolutely horrendous. What did we do? What we did is that uh, I'll tell you what we did. For many, many, many years, we complained to each other, what's going on? Why are we going through this? We're such good people. What's happening? And then at a certain point, something snapped, and the Jewish people said, what have we been doing? Let's dive into Hashem. Let's just simply dive into Hashem. And when we dive into Hashem, let's just cry out to Hashem. And that's what they did. They cried out to Hashem. They said, help! You have, we're throwing ourselves on you. We're just throwing ourselves on you. We're throwing ourselves on you, Ribono Shel Olam, without calculation. And as soon as that happened, Hashem sent Moses. As soon as that happened, Hashem sent Moshe Rabbeinu. Then when we were in the Yam Suf, when we had left Israel, and not Israel, we had gotten out of Egypt miraculously because Hashem heard us and he made many, many miracles to take us out. And then we got to the raging sea that we had to, and we didn't know what to do. And the Jews were talking and coming up with great plans, including davening and praying and all sorts of stuff. And what they did at the sea was that they simply threw themselves in to the situation. They threw themselves in. This is you, Hashem. You're creating this. We're supposed to go into this. I'm going to go into this because that's you. And I'm without calculations. I'm just doing what has to be done, and I'm throwing myself on you. So Rabbi Tachtel told a very, very, very dramatic story that I never heard before. And the story, and I'm sorry, I heard it earlier, and I forgot to write down the names. But the story takes us back to November 2015, and there was a young woman, a religious young woman, and she was going to get married, and her marriage was on Sunday. And so what did they do the Shabbos before a wedding? We have an ufruf. The chassan, the groom, is called up to the Torah, and both families are there, and they celebrate this wonderful occasion, and they pour brachas on him. And so her family set off from their place in the south of Israel. They set off, and for this on Friday to arrive in time for Shabbos, and one of these inexplicable people, an Arab, hopped out into the road, took his rifle, and just started plowing them down. And the mother shouted, "Duck!" and everybody ducked. And then she started shouting out their names. I don't know what the kids' names was. There were a lot of kids in the family: Reuven, Shimon, Levi, Yehuda. And as she shouted each name, they said, "I'm here. I'm okay. Yeah, I'm okay. I'm okay." And she shouted out the name, I believe, of Nassan. Nassan didn't answer, and she shouted out the name of her husband. Can't remember the name of her husband. Maybe Avraham. And there was no answer. Her husband and her 16-year-old were murdered by that guy. And so anyway, the ufruf didn't happen. The wedding didn't happen on Sunday because the Kala was sitting Shiva. And after the Shiva was over, it was just so horrendous. After the Shiva was over, the Kala, she wants to get married. She still has to get married. Her life has been totally shattered. Her father is dead. Her relative, her immediate family, a lot of them were wounded, and she doesn't know how to cope with this level of stuff. What do I do? She has no idea how to go forward. The original wedding was canceled. She has no idea what to do. And she talks to Hashem, and she said, "Hashem, I reached my limit. I can't do this. You are going to do this. I'm throwing myself on you, and you're going to pull this off somehow. That's what's going to happen. You're just going to pull this off because I have no clue how to do anything anymore. And what happened? There must have been a lot of whatever. There were a lot of donations, but anyway, she sent out before that happened. Even she sent out an invitation. They got the name of the place where the wedding was going to be, and she sent out an invitation not to the original guest list. She sent out an invitation to the entire Jewish people, and she said, "Come celebrate with me." And this wedding is being hosted by Hashem. I don't have a father to host it anymore. This wedding is being hosted by Hashem, our Father in heaven. And since he is doing this, he is inviting all his children, all the children, every Jew is invited to my wedding. And it was for 2 weeks hence after that. And people flew in from around the world. People flew in from America. They flew in from every continent. Jews said, such a wedding. I am going. I'm going to support this couple. And they came from all over, and 10,000 people showed up at the wedding. And apparently it was an amazing wedding. It was an absolutely, absolutely amazing wedding. And this woman was able to pick up her life, and she was able to continue. So it works not only in calamities like that, it works in little things. It works when we remember that, you know what, all I have to do is just say, you know, Hashem, I'm not going to worry about this stuff anymore. I'm just giving it to you, and I'm going to do whatever I have to do, but you're taking over. And I'm going to expect good because that's what you want me to do. And I don't know how to navigate it anymore. I don't know what to do. It just doesn't work. But you're going to do it. And I'm going to see good results because you are the boss and you are the head of this family. So anyway, that advice, I thought that advice was awesome advice, and I plan to take it. And I already did take it today. And I'm going to wish everybody a wonderful Tu B'Av, and may we have true, and not only a simcha that comes from knowing that we are in Hashem's hands and everything is good, and but a simcha from a plethora of good stuff that Hashem is going to shower on us. And with that, I'm going to ask Hashem, how do I? I'm going to stop the. I'll hit it here. Oh, good. I'm going to stop the recording, and if you like, you can ask questions. Okay, here we go. Ask Hashem, you never recorded. Oh yeah, you did. Okay, here we go. Oh, do it again. Stop recording. Okay.
I want to wish you a happy